much. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are. My name is Thomas W. Timbrooks. I'm running for the U.S. House of Representatives for Oregon's 6th Congressional District. I am part of the Republican Party. So, this is me, and you can tell I'm just as good looking as I am on my picture there, okay? My whole thing is I want to make Oregon's 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district, okay? And I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that in a bunch of different ways, but today we're going to focus on this one way that I'm going to do it. Now, something you'll notice if you've been paying attention to politicians is that they go in and the Office of Representative pays $178,000 a year, which is a pretty good chunk of change. You know, but if you figure a lot of those people who are in the House of Representatives, they're lawyers, architects, engineers, they're some really smart people who could probably be making a whole lot of money outside of the House of Representatives. But there's also some people in there who, you know, they're not too smart. You know, if they weren't in the House of Representatives, they'd probably be having to work a double shift at Dairy Queen or something like that. So, you know, it kind of evens out. But something that you'll notice is these people who are in Congress, they go in making $178,000 a year, and they come out worth like $35 million. And you're wondering, how is that possible? I mean, if you save everything and you know, you return a bunch of plastic bottles and aluminum cans, you're not going to make $20 million, $30 million. You know, that's just insane. Well, the whole thing about Congress is that they have inside information. Now, this inside information is not necessarily illegal. It is not illegal insider information. Some of it is. Okay, some of it is insider information, and it is actually illegal for some of these representatives and people in Congress to use it to make money. But you see, the thing is, the people in the House of Representatives, they're the people who make the laws. So, I mean, they're going to be punishing themselves. Or it's just like, you know, if I'm going to write myself out a speeding ticket, I'm not going to well, I wasn't going 137 miles an hour. I was going 37 miles an hour. That's 2 miles an hour over the speed limit. Yeah. So, see, that's kind of the situation there. You got the lawmakers who are kind of breaking the law there, right? Well, I see it this way. I want to make Oregon's 6th Congressional District, well, I want to make America a much better place. And I want to start with Oregon's 6th Congressional District. I want to make Oregon's 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district. There are around 715,000 people in Oregon's 6th Congressional District, because that's the way they do it, okay? Oregon's population, according to the U.S. Census, Oregon's population allowed for 6 congressional districts, okay? Well, you take Oregon's total population, you divide it by 6, and each congressional district gets 1/6 of Oregon's population, and I think that 1/6 is like 715,000 people or something like that. So every congressional district will have 715,000 people in it. I want all 715,000 people in Oregon's 6th Congressional District to become rich. To be, well, maybe not millionaires. I want you all to become millionaires. But I want all of you to have more money than you did before. You hire me, it's a 2-year term, okay? A two-year term, is that the correct word, term? I was going to say sentence, you know, like a prison sentence, but it's a 2-year term because you're volunteering for it, so it's a 2-year term. You spend 2 years in the House of Representatives doing stuff for your congressional district, and, you know, basically the whole idea is bring back as much money in federal funding as you can bring back to the district so that the district can pay for, you know, freeways and highways and, you know, national parks and cancer research and all this other kind of stuff. And your district because your district gets that money, the people in your district benefit, okay? And it's a pretty simple idea. But here's the thing. I also want the people of the Oregon 6th Congressional District to benefit from the information that is provided to people in Congress. Okay, the people in Congress get this information, and they use that information to invest in certain stocks and bonds. Okay, which is fantastic, you know. And the thing is, all of this information is publicly available. You can access this information in certain ways. But here's the thing. Most of you work 8, 10, 12 hours a day. And you've got kids, you've got, you know, the wife, the husband, you got neighbors, you got to mow the lawn, you got to cook your food and all that stuff. You don't have the 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day that it would take to go out and find all of this publicly. It's available information. It's not insider information. It is publicly available information that could be utilized to legally give you an advantage with the stock market. And that's what I want to do. I want everybody in Oregon's 6th Congressional District to have all of that information readily available that they can use to improve their chances of profiting by investing in the stock market. And nothing can be more American than investing in the stock market. The stock market's a great American thing. And, you know, I mean, it's a wonderful thing. You can invest in somebody's company in Pennsylvania or Taiwan or, you know, I don't know, Argentina or something like that, and you can get a return on your investment. And stock speculation is a wonderful thing, because what happens is you'll buy a stock at like $10 a share, and somebody in, I don't know, Mongolia or Germany or friggin' Liechtenstein will say, hey, that guy's investing $10 in that stock. I'm going to invest in it. And it comes up to $20 a share, and then 30 and 40 and 50. And that $10 a share investment you made, if you sell it for $50 a share, you just made $40 a share. If you have one share, that's $40, 10 shares, that's $400, a million shares, that's $40 million. So you understand. You understand where we're coming from. That's the whole stock market thing is a great, wonderful way to make money. And that's the way people in Congress make their money. They use the early information that they get, because they know which companies, they know, okay, let's say Corporation Incorporated has just got a contract to build something for America. Okay, and the American government needs whatever Corporation Incorporated has, so the American government is going to provide Corporation Incorporated with, I don't know, $5 billion. And that $5 billion is going to make Corporation Incorporated stock go from $10 a share to, I don't know, $40 a share. Okay, so by telling you that Corporation Incorporated is getting $4 billion, and that's going to make their stock go from $10 a share to $40 a share, that gives you the early information you need. You're going to go ahead to eTrade.com, and you're going to say, hey, eTrade, I want to buy 1,000 shares of Corporation Incorporated. Okay, and you get the early price. You get like $10 a share. It goes up to $40 a share, and boom, you sell. You bought 1,000 shares, you got $30 a share, that's $30,000 you made, and it's all perfectly legal because it's public information. Whatever the government is doing with your tax dollars, it is perfectly legal for you to find out what the government is doing with your tax dollars, okay? You call up the government, you say, hello, government, and the government's like, yeah, this is the government, what do you want? What are you doing with my tax dollars? We're giving $4 billion to Corporation Incorporated. Okay, thank you. And you invest in corporate. That's it. You have a reasonable, you as a tax-paying citizen have a reasonable expectation from the government that the government will tell you exactly what the government is doing with your tax dollars, okay? So it's perfectly legal. It is not insider information. Some of the people in Congress do use insider information, but here's the problem with that. First of all, you have to figure out who's doing it. You have to prove that they're doing it. You have to prove that they're doing it maliciously and everything. And by the time that's done, it's just so convoluted and everything. It's very, very difficult. So what I want to do is provide you, the people of Oregon's 6th Congressional District, with all the information that is perfectly legal that you can use to improve your performance on the stock market, okay? And here's my little slideshow for today. Yep, that's me. Dang, I'm good looking. Anyway, there I go. This is my new motto here. It's my new motto. Make Oregon's 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district. And there's a lot of people who don't even know what a congressional district is. So you're ahead of the curve now. Now you know what a congressional district is, and other people all across America are going to be like, America's greatest congressional district? What's a congressional district? And you can look at them and go, like that kind of thing. So you're already one point above them. All right. Now, there you are. I'm Thomas W. Timbrooks, candidate for U.S. House of Representatives in Oregon's 6th Congressional District. I already told you that, but I'm going to let it sink in. My mission is simple: to make Oregon's 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district, not just in name, but in wealth, opportunity, and fairness. One of the ways I plan to do that is by providing you access to the same knowledge that congressional officials in Washington, D.C. have access to. Understanding how Congress directs money and how that affects the stock market will help you to grow your wealth. With an increase in overall wealth will come increased funding for infrastructure, jobs, housing, food, and fuel. This will be the rising tide that raises all ships. Now, what I'm talking about there, let's say all 715,000 people in Oregon's 6th Congressional District become millionaires. Their wealth goes from $0 to $1 million, okay? Well, the government's going to be interested in that. See, any amount of money you earn over like a certain amount of money is taxed. And let's just say that the federal government, state government, all the taxes you pay is going to amount to like half, okay? So you have 715,000 people in Oregon, and each one becomes a millionaire. That's $715 billion. Okay, $715 billion, and divide that by 2, it's a bunch. Okay, and that bunch of money is all going to go to taxes. All right. So half of $715 billion is going to go to taxes that provide for Oregon infrastructure. Not half of it, but half of it's going to go to taxes, and half of that, I guess 10% of it goes to the state. So not $715 billion, but $1.7 billion, I guess, or something. A whole bunch of money. A whole bunch of money is going to go to Oregon, okay? So all that money that goes to Oregon, because everybody in the 6th Congressional District is a millionaire, all that money is going to go to pay for Oregon infrastructure. You know, schools, fire departments, police departments, prisons, highways, bridges, all that stuff, okay? Oregon will have the nicest highways, the nicest freeways, the nicest roadways, the best fire departments, and we also have Oregon Health Plan, which is a really terrific kind of health plan for everybody in Oregon. Your taxes pay for it. I mean, I've never used it myself, but from what I understand, it's a pretty acceptable form of health insurance, Oregon Health Plan. So all that's going to be paid for, and we're not going to be in debt. And the people who are paying for it, all the millionaires that are in Oregon's 6th Congressional District, I mean, they're not really going to worry too much about it because they still got $500,000, right? And plus, they live in one of the nicest congressional districts in the world because freeways, highways, roadways, construction, all the bridges, parks, all that stuff. The homeless people will be taken care of. You know, homeless people will get all the treatment that they need. It'll be great. And money makes a difference. Okay, so I want to bring federal tax dollars to Oregon, but I also want to make everybody in Oregon's 6th Congressional District into a millionaire. Okay, so that's a ton of money, and it's all taxed. All those taxes go straight to the federal government, to Oregon, to whatever else that the government wants to pay for. But we will be getting a much nicer bunch of infrastructure and housing development and jobs, food, fuel, all that good stuff. All the five pillars of government will be satisfied. Okay, so that's what I want to do for you there. Okay, now the problem, when Congress passes a law, spends billions, or creates tax incentives, big corporations and wealthy investors move quickly to take advantage, but ordinary families are left out. Why? Because no one explains how these laws shape industries and stocks. Now, I won't give you insider tips. That's illegal. And I made that pretty clear the first 5 minutes there, all right? What I will give you is public information explained in plain English so you can build wealth for your family the same way that people in Congress do. Now, doesn't that make sense? Now, here's the mechanism. See, Congress doesn't just pass laws. It directs your tax dollars to specific sectors of the economy. What that means is entire industries rise or fall based on government incentives, subsidies, and regulations. By tracking these moves, we can see where growth is likely to happen. Real world example of this, and this just happened a couple of years ago, the CHIPS Act and Science Act. Congress approved billions of dollars to bring semiconductor manufacturing back to the United States. Companies like Intel, AMD, Lam Research, Applied Materials, and so forth, they all benefited. Now, that's not a secret. It's written into the law. If Congress is betting big on semiconductors, then Americans in Oregon's 6th Congressional District should know that these companies will see long-term government support. That knowledge can guide your financial decisions, not by gambling on the market, but by utilizing a critical understanding where tax dollars are flowing and how that flow affects the market. Who's benefiting now? Now, let's be honest, many in Congress are already doing this for themselves. Nancy Pelosi has increased her wealth many millions of dollars while serving in Congress. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who entered Congress with little, has also dramatically grown her financial position. They aren't working overtime to represent their districts. They are taking advantage of the opportunities provided to members of Congress. If they truly wanted to help the people they represent, they'd provide their constituents with the same tools they use to increase personal wealth. And that's exactly what I intend to do for Oregon's 6th Congressional District. Now, here's the fairness argument, okay? Right now, lobbyists and billionaires take advantage of this information, while everyday people are left in the dark. I believe that your family deserves the same opportunity to benefit as do the lobbyists and billionaires. If Congress is spending your tax money to boost certain industries, then you deserve to know where that money is going, all right? And here's another thing. The way people are talking now, they're saying, hey, if we were to just tax the billionaires, tax the millionaires, tax the billionaires, get the rich people to provide their equal share of the pie. Well, see, the thing is, if you were to take all of the money, 100% of the money away from billionaires and millionaires and like that, that would not actually pay for all of the things that we need. And that'd be crazy because millionaires and billionaires, these are people who invest their money in other corporations. The reason, let's say you're working for Corporation Incorporated. The reason Corporation Incorporated can cut you a paycheck every week is because investors are giving their money to Corporation Incorporated so that Corporation Incorporated can pay you to produce the things that they sell to the customer. The customer buys their stuff, income comes in, and the shareholders get an increase in their value. That's how that works. Okay, so where was I going with this? Anyways, That's where I want to go. Oh God, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. But anyways, we don't want. That's where I was going. I was going to say billionaires and millionaires are not bad people. They're not bad people by virtue of the fact that they've got a whole bunch of money. All right, instead of taxing them in increasing amounts, instead of saying you're a billionaire, you should pay 90% of your income to the government, right? Let's just make more millionaires. Let's make thousands of millionaires. Let's make 715,000 millionaires. Okay, in Oregon's 6th Congressional District. Let's make 715,000 new millionaires, and we'll see, okay, you'll be taxed. Yeah, you're a millionaire now. You're a millionaire, you're going to be taxed, they're going to come and they're going to take a whole bunch of your money. But let's face it, it's not like you went out and built a whole bunch of things to sell people. What you did with your money is you invested it. You invested your money in a sure thing. It's basically like winning the lottery, except you will actually win with the stock market. You will become much wealthier than you are, and it's entirely possible that if you manage your money correctly, don't get greedy, don't get crazy, don't go overboard, follow the rules, listen to the advice, obey the instructions. By the end of my 2-year term as your representative, you could have amassed over $1 million. Okay, it's entirely possible. So when the government comes around, you're going to be taxed. They're going to tax the crap out of you, because remember what you were saying just a little while ago? Tax the rich, tax the rich. Well, now you're the rich. And all those taxes that you wanted on rich people before, you're going to be paying those taxes. But it's not a terrible thing, because you're still going to have half your wealth. And, half of $1 million is still half of $1 million. And if you've got $500,000, you should be pretty happy. Okay? So let's just, concentrate on the good here. You're going to be rich, and you're going to be paying a lot of taxes. And Oregon's 6th Congressional District, and Oregon as a state altogether, is going to be a much nicer place to live in. All right? So that's the way that's got to go, and companies are going to want to come over here because we got better infrastructure and everything. People are going to be getting jobs, and all kinds of good stuff's going to happen because we're going to have a whole bunch of money, and that whole bunch of money is going to help a lot of people out. Okay, so that's how that's going to help. So observing and emulating the wealth. Some politicians talk about raising taxes on the wealthy or punishing billionaires just for being successful. But that mindset doesn't make anyone richer. It only spreads resentment. Instead, we should observe the habits of financially successful people, and they study where money is moving. They invest where growth is happening, and they take advantage of opportunities created by government policy. If we do the same, if we emulate those habits, then everyone in Oregon's 6th Congressional District can share in that success. We don't need to drag the wealthy down. We need to lift ourselves up by using the same playbook. Doesn't that make sense? Now, why sharing this helps everyone? And this is what I'm saying. It's like, okay, I've got a website, and here on my YouTube site, I've got a link to my website on the YouTube site. I'm going to point in the direction, and I don't know exactly where it would be while you're watching this, if you are watching it, but I have a link for my website on YouTube right now. It's my election website, but if I get elected, I can have the same YouTube channel, and I can put all this information that you need on my website. I can publish it every Sunday night. Publish it Sunday night so that Monday, when the markets open, you've got the early information. You can invest in Corporation Incorporated or Incorporated or Acme Consolidated or whatever. Invest all your money in that, make tons of money, and grow rich. All right, that's the idea. So, that's what I want to say. Okay, the more people that do that, the faster the money will grow. Okay, so let's say you've got 5 people, and these 5 people know that this stock is going to go from $10 a share to $50 a share. All right, they know it. But it could go above that, or it might not go all the way. But if only 10 people know it, then the market is going to react slowly. But if 10,000 people know about it, the market is going to react very, very quickly, and it's probably going to overreact. In fact, instead of just going from $10 a share to $50 a share, it might go to $150 a share. Because that's what happens when you get more people. If you get 10,000 people, all of them bidding on one stock, it's very likely that what's called momentum bidding, momentum buying will take over, and the shares of stock will go way past what they're actually worth. And so you can just sit there and watch it. You know, you invested $10 a share, you got, I don't know, 100 shares, and you can just sit there watching going past 50, 60, 80, 100, and you're like, $100 a share. I paid $10 a share, it's $100 a share. I just made $9,000. Boom, right there, you know? And you're making that money because 10,000, 20,000, a million, 10 million people know about this, okay? So it's when I send you the information, 715,000 people in Oregon's 6th Congressional District are going to get that information. But that information is available to everybody on the internet on the planet, okay? So you're going to get the information, and you're going to know to invest all the money, right? And then everybody else in the world's got to see. I'll give you like some kind of access code or something like that, so you can log in and you can get all that information. And then Monday morning, whenever all the stuff becomes available, that's when I'll give access to the website to everybody in the world. And everybody in the world will say, all right, this stock's going to go from $10 a share to $50 a share. I'm gonna buy the stock at $20 or $30 or $40 a share, right? And so the more people who know about this, the more likely it is you'll get rich. All right, so, and it's all legal. It's all perfectly legal. This is public information, publicly available information. You're part of the public. You're a taxpayer. You have every right in the world to this information. You have every right in the world to become wealthy. So that's the point that I'm making here, is that sharing will help everyone, okay? Why sharing this helps everyone. Some may ask, if more people in our district start investing with this knowledge, will that hurt the stock market? The answer is no. In fact, it's the opposite. The more people who participate, the stronger the market becomes. When more families invest, stock prices rise more sharply, growth happens faster, and wealth spreads wider. By helping everyday people invest smartly, we're not weakening the market, we're fueling it with the power of more participants, okay? So share the information with your cousins, your uncles, your friends' cousins, your friends' uncles. Share the information with everybody in the world, because we want everybody in the world pushing their money into the stocks that you're investing in. Okay, that's what you want. It's good for the board of directors. It's good for the company. It's good for everybody. So just sharing is a good thing. Getting this information out there, telling everybody you know about this thing, it's going to be great. And you're going to become rich. And that's my objective. I want everybody in Oregon's 6th Congressional District to have the information that will make them wealthy. I want it to be, Oregon's 6th Congressional District will be America's greatest congressional district, okay? So, if I am elected to the U.S. House of Representatives each week, I'll break down new congressional actions, whether it's energy, defense, or infrastructure, and explain how these actions can impact the stock market. I'll put all this information on my website where anyone can have access to it. But here's the thing, okay? Well, collectively, we'll make sure Oregon's 6th District isn't just a place where money flows out. It's a place where wealth grows for every household, okay? Now, I mentioned this a little while ago. See, because you are a member of Oregon's 6th Congressional District and you are a registered voter, Well, actually, I think it would go to anybody who is a member. If you have a driver's license and your driver's license or any official government identification, okay? If you can identify yourself as a member of Oregon's 6th Congressional District, we'll run some kind of a deal with like E-Trade or somebody else that you will have an access code, and your access code will provide you with an early opportunity to purchase certain stock. Okay, because you're going to know about this stock, and like I said, everything's perfectly legal. So you're going to be able to get your order in early. And so when Monday morning comes around, the stock market opens, boom, you have purchased at $10 a share. Now, everybody else in the world is going to look at the website, and the website is going to come up, Monday morning, and so everybody else in the world is going to say, hey, this website says these stocks are going to do good. We're going to start investing. And so you get 350 million investors in North, South, and Central America, and all of them are jamming their money into these stocks. Those stocks are going to skyrocket. They're going to boom. Okay, so Monday you're going to start off with stocks worth a couple $1,000s, maybe $10,000, and you're going to walk away with stocks, a portfolio that's worth $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, okay? And that's how you're going to build your wealth. You're going to build your wealth. I'm going to help you to build your wealth by providing you with the information that Congress already has, and is publicly available. It's just that you don't have time, you don't have the opportunity to go around hunting that information because, you work 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 hours a day. You don't have time to play around in the stock market. But after you become a millionaire, you're going to have a whole lot more time to mess around in the stock market. And you're going to start wondering why your neighbors don't. You're going to create little clubs and places to go because you're going to be rich. You're not going to have to work 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day anymore. You're going to have artificial intelligence doing your job for you. You're going to have like a robot program to do your job for you. You're going to have multiple robots in your house running around saying, can I do this for you, sir? Can I get you some tea? Can I make you an eggplant parmesan? Sure, and you can program your robot to have one of those cool English accents too. That would be awesome. But yeah, seriously. This is something that I've often wondered. Why is it these people, just people like you and me, we elect them to go to Congress and they find out some information. And this information would help everybody in their district to increase their wealth. But instead of telling everybody in their district, this is how you increase your wealth, they choose to just invest in it themselves and say, all right, I make $178,000 a year in Congress, but on the stock market, I'm making $5 million a year. Well, why aren't you telling us? Why aren't you? I mean, we voted for you. We sent you to Washington, D.C., and we want you to help us. We want you to help us to become better off economically. We want this stuff to happen for us. Why aren't you helping us? Why aren't you giving us that information? Or are you just presuming that, we look for it? Are you presuming that we have the time to go around looking for it? Because we don't. Trust me, we don't. I don't have the time to go around looking for it. But if I am in Congress, I can provide that information for you, and I will provide that information for you. I don't know why they aren't doing that for you, but they aren't. And they are getting rich, and you are staying the same. In fact, you're probably doing worse because, they okayed some kind of bill that costs you money, and now you got to pay more taxes, right? So that's what I plan to do. You send me to Washington, D.C., I'm going to provide everybody in Oregon's 6th Congressional District with the information they need to increase their wealth. And I'm not just going to stop with the 6th. Okay, I'm going to work with the other representatives in Oregon. There's 5 other representatives. And if they want to get in on the same plan, let them get in on the same plan. Like I said, the more people who invest in the stock market, the better off the stock market is. The more money that there is in these investments, the more likely it is that those investments will go up and that you will profit. Okay, so that's what I want to do. I want to make Oregon's 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district by making every member of the congressional district a wealthy person, a much wealthier person. If not a millionaire, you will be wealthier. You will have the opportunity to make yourself wealthier. That's what I should say. I will give you the tools that you need. They will be provided for you, okay? Can you make that wealth? You have the opportunity. Will you take that opportunity? It's entirely up to you, okay? So, legally available information to help with stock market investments. Okay, here's some examples of it. Legislation and appropriations. Bills and amendments flagging legislation that allocates billions to certain industries, EV subsidies, defense contractors, semiconductor manufacturing. Federal budget lines, like highlighting where money is being directed in the national budget, infrastructure, renewable energy, cybersecurity. Appropriations riders, small clauses that often direct funding to specific technologies or regions usually overlooked by the public. As an example of this, Congress is debating $50 billion expansion in semiconductor manufacturing support. If passed, this will benefit companies like Intel, Applied Materials, and related suppliers. So there, that's information you need. Committee hearings and public testimony. Expert witnesses, hearing transcripts often reveal which technologies industries are preparing to scale. Regulatory cues. For example, an SEC, DOE, or DOD official might testify about tightening rules or expanding grants, signals that certain sectors will face headwinds or tailwinds. An example of this, in yesterday's Energy and Commerce hearing, the Department of Energy emphasized funding for grid modernization. That points to opportunities in utility and smart grid companies, okay? Now, you may be seeing this video like next week or months from now. It's yesterday. Today is like, September 4th. So, that's dated information. But anyways, so government contracts and grants. This is also information that's public, but I'm absolutely certain you don't go looking for it. So DOD contracts, major defense contracts are publicly posted on sites like usapending.gov. R&D grants, NIH, NSF, and DOE grants show where federal science funding is headed. Infrastructure awards. When states or companies will win funding or for projects, rail ports, EV charging networks, that's a signal of growth. For example, Oregon was just awarded $400 million for renewable energy projects. That will increase demand for companies providing solar panels, batteries, and grid services. So there you go. Economic data already public but overlooked. Federal Reserve reports tracking rate policy and inflation indicators. Bureau of Labor Statistics, that's employment reports by sector. Early signs of where hiring and demand are strongest. Trade data showing which industries are seeing increased imports and exports. For example, the latest BLS report shows strong job growth in aerospace manufacturing. Historically, that precedes earnings growth in Boeing suppliers and aviation service firms. So there you go, investment opportunities, okay? Industry trends highlighted by policy, tax credits and incentives. When Congress enacts a credit for EV buyers, solar panels, or R&D, that's a signal of demand growth. Regulatory approvals, FDA fast-tracking biotech, FCC approving spectrum sales, or DOE green-lighting new reactors. For example of this, the new Farm Bill increases subsidies for precision agriculture. Companies making drone tech and ag tech sensors may benefit. There you go, investment possibilities that you didn't know about. All right, And this is what I'm going to provide to you. Constituent-focused economic insights. Rather than giving stock tips, you'll share sectoral and trend-level insights. Which industries Washington is helping, which industries Washington is hurting, which federal policies will create opportunity in Oregon specifically. Why this is legal and powerful? Well, it's legal. All of this information is already public record. I'm just translating it from dense government documents into plain English. It's powerful because most Americans don't have the time or the expertise to comb through these hearings, budget tables, and contract databases. By doing that work for you, I provide you with the tools that Wall Street and analysts already use. So bottom line is, sharing public but overlooked government signals, legislation, contracts, hearing, and budget priorities that point to where industries are headed is not insider trading, it's just transparency. Coffee, good. Okay, so, this is a different thing I want to talk about. So, coffee, good. Also, Dot's Pretzels. Dot's Pretzels really good, okay? I was just over at the grocery outlet, and the Dot's Pretzels thing, it's at $1.99, but in some other places, it's $4.65. So if I don't eat that, I'm actually losing money, okay? And it's healthy for you as far as I care. Might be healthy, might not be. I don't know. You're going to die anyway, whatever. But anyways, so all this is perfectly legal. And it's generally speaking, it's beyond the common person's ability to gather that information. And seriously, I don't understand why it is the representatives in Congress aren't already providing their constituents with that information. Okay, now let's say I make this information available to you, but you really don't know how to use it. What can happen, what will more than likely inevitably happen is you'll get financial firms that pop up here and there within the district. Okay, and these financial firms will take care of your money for you. You will tell them, these financial firms will be like, look, this information he's giving us, it's golden, it's wonderful, it's terrific. If you give me access to your account, I will make the trades for you, and then I will take a percentage of each trade. I'll take like 5% of each trade. So if you make $1 million, I'll make $50,000. Okay, so I mean, isn't that worth it? You make $1 million in one trade in one day, I take $50,000 out of that. It's worth it to you, right? It's worth it. And plus it's tax deductible because somebody else is making an income off of your money, so it's tax deductible. But anyway, so coffee, good. Anyway, that's the plan. You may not be able to use all the information that I give you. Somebody will be able to use it, and these investment firms will pop up all over the place. You'll contact the investment firms. You'll say, look, I want to be rich. Here's the information. I don't know how to use it. Can you help me? And maybe you'll get an accountant or stockbroker, or personal broker or something like that, and they will help you to become rich. It'll just be automatic pilot and everything. You give them some of your money, they make $1 million, and boom, you're rich. Somebody else's labor. That's what America's all about. Okay, make money the old-fashioned way. Let somebody else make it for you. That's just life in the big city. Okay? Anyways, so something else I was thinking about is that, a lot of people have made a lot of money in Bitcoin. Yeah, you saw that before. I put that slide up there. Here's the thing that has kept me out of Bitcoin is that I'm an engineer. I have a master's degree in engineering. I've got 35 years in manufacturing. I am not a dumb person. Okay, I'm not just ridiculously good looking either. I am a very smart person. I can understand how putting money into one thing is going to make you money. I can understand the stock market. I can understand interest rates in banks. I can understand the financial system. I don't understand how Bitcoin makes money. There is just no possible way that Bitcoin could make money. It's just stupid. There is no possible way. Okay, there's like 24 million Bitcoin. So if each one of those Bitcoins was worth $1, that's $24 million, okay? Now let's say you purchase a Bitcoin. And I don't know how you purchase a Bitcoin. It's not a solid little token or anything. It's just a binary code number like that, all right? You purchase a Bitcoin for, you put in $10, okay? Well, everybody in the world puts in $10 or whatever, so the price Bitcoin goes up. Right? So you have purchased a Bitcoin for $10, and then other people put money into Bitcoin, making each Bitcoin more valuable. So essentially, when you sell your Bitcoin, you are stealing their money. Okay, because their money is put on the pile. You take your Bitcoin away. Now your Bitcoin is worth, you paid $1 for it. Now it's worth $100,000. You are stealing $100,000 of somebody else's money. So you got in early, you bought a Bitcoin for $1, everybody else put their money into Bitcoin, and now you're taking the money out. You're stealing. You are stealing somebody else's money, okay? That's the only possible way you can explain. That's the only way I can explain it. Like I said, I'm not just ridiculously good looking. I'm smart too. And if I can't understand it, I just don't think you'll be understood. So the way what it makes most sense to me is Bitcoin a government operation? The mystery is Satoshi Nakamoto. That's the person who created Bitcoin, supposedly. Satoshi's identity has never been confirmed. No verified movement of early mine coins, which should be worth billions. The sudden disappearance of Satoshi, right when Bitcoin started gaining traction, raises the question, was Satoshi really an individual or a cover for an organization? Why a government might want Bitcoin. Might want Bitcoin. I need more coffee. Woo. Oh yeah, it's good coffee. Financial surveillance. Even though Bitcoin is anonymous at the user level, every transaction is recorded forever on the blockchain. This creates a perfect ledger for anyone with strong analytics like NSA or other agencies. The economic experimentation, Bitcoin can serve as a sandbox to test how people interact with a digital decentralized currency. Useful research if a central bank digital currency is ever launched. As a destabilization tool, by creating a parallel financial system, governments could test stress on traditional banking or weaken adversaries dependent on cash economies. The government capability and circumstances. Around the time Bitcoin was launched, both the NSA and DARPA were researching cryptographic systems similar to Bitcoin's blockchain structure. The SHA-256 hashing algorithm that secures Bitcoin was developed by the NSA. So the algorithm that Bitcoin uses was developed by the NSA. Okay, Bitcoin appeared right after the 2008 financial crisis when distrust in banks was at its peak. Perfect conditions for a government-seated alternative. So the reason proof is hard to find, if it were a government operation, it would have been launched through cutouts, open source communities, and pseudonymous contributions. I don't know, pseudonymous contributions, whatever. Okay, governments excel at creating plausible deniability, and the absence of Satoshi today may actually be the biggest tell. Most tech founders seek recognition, but this one vanished without a trace. Direct proof is impossible to find. The fact that direct proof is impossible to find may be by design. But when you look at the cryptography origins, the timing, the surveillance advantages, and the mysterious vanishing of Satoshi Nakamoto, it becomes hard not to wonder, was Bitcoin seeded as an operation all the time or all along? So I leave you with the question, is Bitcoin truly the people's money, or has it been the government's experiment all along? Either way, understanding who really benefits from Bitcoin might change the way you see not just cryptocurrency, but the future of money itself. Okay? And what's it, the Haktua girl? Okay, if cryptocurrency is the way to go, if cryptocurrency is the future and all that, well, the cryptocurrency that the Haktua girl, I forget her name, real pretty Southern girl. They got her in on some kind of cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin type thing, and it rose in value. It went from nothing to like millions of dollars, and then went from millions of dollars to nothing. Because, like I said, I can't explain it. I don't know how it works. What I'm pretty sure of is the people who get in early end up stealing everybody else's money and running off with it. And that's why it went from nothing to millions of dollars and millions of dollars to nothing. Because the people who got in on it early, they stole everybody else's money and ran off with it. Okay, and the Haktua girl, you know, she's just like, hey, I'm just a pretty girl who said Haktua. You know, I mean, if you put your money into some kind of cryptocurrency, that's your business. And you can't tell me that she's an expert in cryptocurrency because, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that it's probably zero that, you know, people who are really, really good at computer programming and have their finger on the pulse of technology and could create some kind of cryptocurrency have been caught saying, you say Hak2, spit on that thing. Yeah. I don't think she's an expert in cryptocurrency. I think somebody had a cryptocurrency and they figured, hey, this will make lots of money for us because we're going to get people to invest in this cryptocurrency, and then we're going to steal all their money and run off with it, and she'll be holding the bag. Okay? Which, you know, that's pretty messed up, but that's the way things work, you know? So, yeah, cryptocurrencies, it's like I said, you know, these cryptocurrencies, it just looks like stealing to me. And it seems like, you know, because I had two older brothers, and I didn't keep my allowance very long because they would always, oh, you made $2 this week on your allowance, huh? Well, hey, how would you like to buy some of my old toys? No. Yeah, come on. You know, they would eventually get my money. My parents stopped giving me money. They're just like, you know, we're not going to give you money anymore because we're just going to give it to them. You know, because they're going to get it anyway. We'll buy you a toy or a dog or a hamster or something like that. Man, I should really have a lot more psychological issues than I do. But the truth is, having older brothers, there's like, it's a double-edged sword because, yeah, they take all your money and they try to kill you and everything. But if anybody else tries to take your money or kill you, then they'll come in and stand up for you, right? And then they'll take your money and try to kill you. But that's just my older brothers. Your actual experience may vary. But anyways, so the whole thing is, I don't think anybody should invest in Bitcoin. If you are investing in Bitcoin, go ahead, do your thing. But there are some people out there who invested in Bitcoin early and went skyrocketing, and you know, they made lots of money. But I also think Bitcoin might be a government-run operation because whenever USAID was shut down, Bitcoin increased in value. And you see, if I were a government and if I wanted to pay for some covert operations somewhere, I would use cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. If I wanted to make sure that governments in Central America were destabilized, I would use Bitcoin. if I wanted to make sure that, some like Taiwan or Hong Kong or something like that stayed in power, I don't want people to know that I'm helping them, but I want to help them. So I would use something like Bitcoin. Okay, so that's what governments do. Governments see the most valuable commodity in the world is information. Politics is the business of gathering and utilizing information. If somebody knows something and they tell the government will use that information for their own purposes, to strengthen the government. In the United States of America, we do that really well. Back in World War II, you had that coding and decoding device, the Enigma. The United States was able to decode the Enigma transmissions and like that before England. England found out how to do it, and England's all like, ha ha ha, we're England, yeah, we know how to do this, right? And America's just like, hold my beer, okay? Because we figured it out first. It's just that we weren't telling them. So having information is very important. Governments collect and utilize information for the improvement of the welfare of their people, of their government, of their nation, like that. So that's basically what is it. And Bitcoin, like I said, where money is going and where it's ending up, who it's getting to, that's information, and that's very important information, and that's information that the government wants. So yeah, I'm thinking Bitcoin's a government operation. But anyways, back to my little slideshow here. All right, these are the top 10 things that I'm going to work on when I get to Washington. You send me to Washington, these are the things I'm going to work on. First, remove $5 trillion from the national debt. The proposed 28th Amendment for transparency and financial incentives. I got a video on that. I also got a video on the remove $5 trillion in the national debt. Secure America's digital infrastructure by requiring PLCs be built domestically. Got a video on that too. Tuberculosis and polio screening for all migrants as well as food workers. Got a video on that. The 5-pillar blueprint to empower local governments, protecting our law enforcement through Reasonable Operations Space Act, because I see, these law enforcement people, they'll be out there enforcing the law and some hippie will put his face right up next to him. I don't want that happening. That's just messed up. Require early measles vaccination. Okay, measles, like I said, I made a video on this. Measles is the most important vaccine you can possibly get. And the American Talent First Act to ensure American workers are prioritized for American jobs. I got a video on that too. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good one. Immunotherapy for cancer research. That's a hot topic right now. Seriously, Oregon needs to get in on that, because we've already got places in Oregon that do cancer research using human immunotherapy stuff. It's fantastic stuff. Groundbreaking. We need to get in on it. And in-person voting also, because somebody showed up at our Republicans meeting a while back, and they were talking about how the importance of in-person voting. And yeah, as it turns out, people will tell you there have been a lot of really in-depth studies talking about how mail-in voting is actually better and faster, and early voting is better and faster. But there have been an equal number of studies showing that mail-in voting and early voting are both very, very corruptible. They may seem convenient, and they are. They really are convenient, but they can potentially, there is room for corruption there. Okay, so that's something. In-person voting, I think in-person voting should be a nationwide thing, and I'm with Donald Trump on this one. In-person voting, we really need to work on in-person voting. They have to have like a vacation day, the voting day. I guess what is it? The first Tuesday in November after the first Monday in November. or is it the second? I forget. Anyways, they say, yeah, the first Tuesday after the first Monday, or the first Monday after the first Tuesday, or something like that. But anyways, it's, you know, election day. They should make election day a holiday. No company in America should force its people to stay at work when they could be out voting. All right? If you need a 2 or 3 or 4 hour break, you know, from your job to go out and vote, then the government should enforce that and make it happen, because voting is the most important thing that we as Americans can do. It is the most important right that we have, and we can't allow it to fall into the hands of any corrupt individuals. We have to hold our right to vote as sacred as you know, our right to free speech, our right to bear arms, any of our other rights as human beings. The right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness depends on our ability to vote freely, and for those votes to be counted accurately. Okay, so accurate elections are very important to sustaining the republic. We need America to be strong, and we need America to exercise democracy. It's just, you know, that's I don't even really have to say that. It's very, very important. So early voting, in-person voting is what I'm going to be fighting for. In-person voting. Okay. So. Make America great again? Yes, that is the MAGA agenda. My agenda is to make Oregon's 6th Congressional District America's greatest congressional district. That is the Moskdagkud agenda. So, there you go, everybody. I'm Thomas W. Timbrooks for the U.S. House of Representatives, Oregon's 6th Congressional District, the fighting 6th, or the, I don't know, we're all a bunch of hippies over here, so I'm not going to say the fighting 6th. Let's say the, I don't know, the aggressive, or the assertive 6th. That's what we are, the assertive 6th, whatever. And George Carlin said, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large numbers. I say, never underestimate the collective potential for tyranny and hypocrisy from strategically placed, ideologically indoctrinated politicians and the activists who enable them. So, thank you very much for your time. Thank you much for listening. And I will do everything I could possibly do to, you know, if you put me in the House of Representatives, I will do everything I could possibly do to make your life in Oregon's 6th Congressional District as pleasant as possible, okay? So thank you very much, and you take care.